Good evening, night dwellers. Welcome to the channel where shadows whisper and eerie tales soothe you to sleep. Let me guide you through tonight's chilling stories. Relax, close your eyes, and let the darkness take you. Sweet dreams. So this happened to me on April 20th on a bus. That morning, I woke up and thought, you know what? I'm going to take a different bus today. I want to try a new route. That's unusual for me because I'm a creature of habit and I get anxious when I change my routine. But for some reason, that day, I decided to do it anyway. At 9:20 a.m., I got on the bus and ran into an old man I immediately recognized. His name is Aldo. He's the grandfather of one of my brother's friends, Alessio, and our families know each other well. He knows my mom, my grandma, basically everyone. He owns a small greengrocer's shop where he sells fruit and vegetables, and he's always been a really kind person. We said hi and started talking like we normally would. He told me that Alessio was moving to northern Italy because he had found a job there. We talked a bit about how bad the job market is, complained, laughed, and then he asked about my brother, by name, wanting to know how he was doing and if he had settled. He also asked about my mom. Everything about the conversation felt completely normal. Aldo was dressed nicely, and at some point, he mentioned that he had gone to the hospital to pick up some paperwork and had left his car somewhere because of traffic. While we were talking, his phone rang. What stood out to me was that he had a smartphone, and he struggled a bit to answer it, tapping the screen a couple of times before getting it right. He missed the call at first, then called the person back shortly after. About 5 minutes later, he got ready to get off the bus. He told me the driver already knew he had to stop there for him. We shook hands, he said goodbye, and got off. Nothing about it felt strange at the time. Around 9:45 a.m., when I reached my destination, I called my mom and told her I had run into Aldo. Since our families are close, it was just casual conversation. But later that night, when I got home, my mom and my brother were both confused and asking me what I was talking about. My mom had called Aldo's daughter, who is her friend, and mentioned that Alessio was moving away. The problem is, that's not true. Alessio isn't moving anywhere. Then it got even stranger. Aldo's daughter told her that Aldo had been home all morning until 10 a.m. He hadn't taken a bus. He doesn't even know how to use one. And he hadn't gone to the hospital at all. I couldn't believe it. I told my mom, "What are you talking about? I saw him. I talked to him." She showed me a picture of Aldo, and it was definitely him. No doubt about it. That night, I even spoke to his wife on the phone, and she confirmed everything again. Aldo had been home with her the entire morning. So I said, check his phone. He got a call while we were on the bus. But apparently, Aldo doesn't even own a smartphone. He uses one of those old flip phones because he can't use modern ones. At that point, I didn't know what to think. Who did I talk to? How did he know my brother's name? Why did he ask about my mom? Everything about him felt exactly like Aldo. And if it had been him, nothing about the interaction would have seemed unusual. But it wasn't Aldo. The part that really gets to me is this. My birthday was on April 17th, and my late grandfather's birthday was on April 15th. He passed away in October 2022. I miss him all the time and think about him constantly, so I can't help but wonder if, somehow, it was him. I'd like to believe that, but honestly, it still freaks me out I can't explain it. My boyfriend and I were in a deep sleep when, all of a sudden, we both woke up at the exact same time. Standing right next to the bed was a man. It was really dark, but we could both clearly make out his figure. He had long hair and was standing less than a foot away, leaning slightly over my boyfriend and just staring at him. The moment I realized what I was seeing, I panicked and yelled at him to leave my boyfriend alone. My boyfriend, on the other hand, couldn't move or speak. He said it felt like he was completely paralyzed. As soon as I yelled, the man just disappeared. And the strangest part is that after that, we both just went back to sleep, like nothing had happened. The next day, we didn't even think about it at first. It was like it hadn't registered. Then, out of nowhere, my boyfriend brought it up, asking if I remembered what happened during the night. That's when everything came back, and we started comparing what we saw. We both described the same person. Same height, same long hair, same position next to the bed. Then my boyfriend told me something that made it even more unsettling. He said that when I yelled at the man, my voice didn't sound like my normal voice. It was deeper, almost like it wasn't mine. He also said that when I yelled, the man seemed scared of me. That's the part that's really been bothering me ever since. How did we both wake up at the same time, see the same figure, and then just go back to sleep like it was nothing? It doesn't make any sense. I've been with my boyfriend for 5 years, and nothing like this has ever happened before. He even told me that he's never experienced anything remotely paranormal until he started dating me. I don't think it was any kind of relative visiting either. No one in my family who has passed away looks anything like that, and the presence didn't feel comforting at all. If anything, it felt aggressive, almost dominant, especially in the way it was focused on my boyfriend. I still can't explain it, and honestly, it's been stuck in the back of my mind ever since. Here in Asia, there are many kinds of ghost stories, but one of the most feared spirits is the jinn, or jinn. You might have heard about them in Turkish horror stories. They're often described as powerful and dangerous entities. This story is about a girl named Jackie. Jackie was very obsessed with her appearance, especially her long hair. She would constantly look at herself in mirrors, windows, or any reflective surface she could find. People around her often warned her that being so obsessed with her looks wasn't a good thing, but she didn't listen. She would spend up to 30 minutes just combing her hair while admiring herself. One day, she went to a friend's wedding in a rural village area. In many such places, there's a belief that at night, you should always tie your hair, especially in unfamiliar environments. People say you never know what might attach itself to you through your open hair, but Jackie refused. She laughed it off, saying she didn't believe in such superstitions and wasn't going to change her appearance because of rumors. She enjoyed the wedding, but a few days later, people started noticing changes in her behavior. She looked constantly tired, her eyes were heavy, and she became easily irritated. She seemed lost in her own world. Whenever someone asked her what was wrong, she would get angry or yell at them. So, eventually, people stopped asking. About a week later, her mother, clearly distressed, went to Jackie's friends and started shouting, asking if someone had fed her daughter something strange. Everyone was confused and asked her to explain. Her mother said that ever since the wedding, Jackie had not been acting like herself. She would talk to herself, smile at the mirror for no reason, refuse to eat, and isolate herself. Whenever the family tried to pray or worship, she would become aggressive, even violent, and start cursing at them. Her mother began to suspect that something supernatural was involved. When she spoke to Jackie's friends, they mentioned the incident at the wedding, how they had all urged Jackie to tie her hair, but she had refused. They warned her mother that some areas in villages are considered unsafe, especially if you don't follow local beliefs. Desperate, her mother went to her sister-in-law and asked if she knew anyone who could help, perhaps a monk or a spiritual healer. They eventually contacted a well-known exorcist who agreed to visit their house. But as soon as he entered, Jackie began laughing and mocking him. She spoke in a way that didn't sound like herself, saying things like, "Why did you bring this fool here? You could have asked me directly." The exorcist tried to question her, but she continued to laugh and resist. After attempting to assess the situation, he realized that this was not an ordinary spirit. He told the family that the entity seemed far more dangerous and that he wasn't equipped to deal with it. He advised them to seek someone experienced with stronger entities like jinn and gave them a few contacts. Before leaving, he warned them to lock the house and not let her wander outside. The next day, a spiritual medium arrived. As soon as he entered, he sensed the presence of a jinn. However, Jackie was nowhere to be found at first. She had hidden herself, refusing to come out. Eventually, she appeared, furious, shouting and cursing at her mother and aunt for bringing the medium. The medium tried to get the name of the jinn, since knowing its name could help weaken it. But Jackie refused. She said that the spirit was the only one who truly understood her beauty. While everyone else criticized her, the jinn admired her and told her she didn't need to hide herself for anyone. She insisted that she loved him and that he loved her, and that neither of them would ever leave the other. At that point, the medium told her mother something disturbing. There was very little they could do. The jinn had not just taken control. Jackie had accepted it willingly. According to him, such entities need permission, and she had given it. Even if they performed an exorcism, it likely wouldn't work because she didn't want the spirit to leave. Her mother begged for help, saying Jackie was her only daughter and she couldn't watch her life fall apart like this. She even threatened to harm herself if they refused to try. The medium agreed to attempt an exorcism, but warned that he couldn't promise success. They tried multiple times, using different methods. They reasoned with Jackie, tried to explain that this wasn't love, and that it was harming her, but she refused to listen. She was still a teenager, and believed she had found true love. She said everyone was just jealous of her beauty and of the love she had found. Then, before ending one of the sessions, they asked the spirit why it had chosen her. The response was chilling. It said, "I was sitting on a tree, minding my own business, when I smelled a fragrance. I followed it and saw her hair open and flowing. I grabbed the ends of her hair and entered her body. It took me 2 or 3 days to convince her that I loved her. Now, no one can separate us, not even you." After that, the medium and the exorcist admitted defeat. they told her mother there was nothing more they could do. The only option left was to isolate Jackie, keep her locked in her room, and give her protective items to prevent harm to herself or others. After that, no one really knows what happened. Her mother eventually moved to a remote village where she could keep Jackie away from others and take care of her in isolation. In such a place, it was easier to limit human interaction completely, and that's where the story ends. In the year 1993, my wife and I, having celebrated just over a year of marriage, found ourselves in search of a new place to call home, a place closer to our parents' abode. Our quest led us to a peculiar rental opportunity, a trailer situated on an 80-acre old hog farm, isolated in the quiet expanse of the countryside. The only companions in this remote setting were our humble trailer and the owner's new home, standing about 200 yards away. A weathered barn stood sentinel nearby, adding a rustic charm to the landscape. The proprietors of this rural haven were a unique duo. The lady, a skilled farrier, specializing in fitting new shoes on horses, and the gentleman, a dedicated railroad worker. Their familial ensemble included 2 children, a 14-year-old girl and a young lad of 12. The lady devoted much of her time to the horses in the barn, while the children reveled in the freedom of the outdoors. This was a time long before the internet and the conveniences of modern communication, a time when descriptions and connections lacked the immediacy we now take for granted. Not long after settling into this seemingly serene abode, I began to notice anomalies that defied explanation. It's crucial to note that my childhood had been marred by encounters with spirits, and as these inexplicable events unfolded, I found myself confiding in my wife that we might have unwittingly chosen a haunted home. While she believed in spirits, she had never personally experienced the paranormal. The disturbances became incessant, nocturnal or diurnal. It mattered not. The spirits asserted their presence. Doors would slam shut, others would swing open, and cabinets would mysteriously fly open, tossing objects off the countertops. As time passed, the disturbances escalated, reaching a point where my wife was chased by a sickly raccoon into our trailer one evening. In an attempt to alleviate the situation, I set a live trap baited with cat food, and within an hour had captured the ailing creature. Confronted with the decision to spare the raccoon further suffering, I retrieved a .22 caliber handgun and, from a foot away, delivered what I believed to be a humane end. The next morning, expecting to find a lifeless creature, I was instead met with the raccoon standing calmly, appearing surprisingly healthy. Perplexed, I transported it miles away and released it, unwilling to let it linger near our home. Despite the absence of contemporary technology to document these paranormal events, we adapted and lived with the strange occurrences. One particularly unsettling episode transpired as an otherworldly force seemed to settle upon the trees surrounding our home. The sound of breaking branches echoed through the night, prompting me to rush outside, only to witness an abrupt silence as soon as I stepped through the door. This bizarre phenomenon repeated twice more that night, each time ceasing upon my emergence. Frustrated by the unexplainable disturbances, I resolved to approach the owners with a direct inquiry about the supernatural. In 1993, the understanding of the paranormal was not as commonplace as it is today. Nervously, I broached the subject with the lady owner, and to my surprise, she confirmed a dark history. 3 individuals, an old man and his 2 sons, had met their demise in separate farming accidents on the property before the current owners acquired it. Armed with this unsettling knowledge, the subsequent weeks were fraught with eerie incidents, lights flickering, doors slamming, and an ever-growing sense of foreboding. The property, once serene, now emanated a palpable darkness, an ominous presence that seemed to shroud everything in a sinister aura. The stage was set for the chilling climax, the final night in the trailer. Built in the 70s, the trailer boasted windows on 3 walls in the master bedroom, beginning halfway up the wall. Accustomed to lying on the right side of the bed against the wall, we retired for the night as usual. The spirits, however, were undeterred, orchestrating a series of unsettling activities, opening doors regardless of locks, and escalating their usual antics. As we lay in the pitch-black darkness, a mere 5 minutes passed before an unexplained force compelled me to open my eyes. To my horror, I found myself staring out of the windows. The bed was elevated 3 feet above the floor. Simultaneously, my wife, who hadn't yet fallen asleep, began screaming. The bed crashed down with such force that all 4 legs pierced the trailer's floor. As a 6'3" military man weighing 230 pounds, I considered myself tough. But this humbling experience shattered that illusion. The instinct to let my wife go first was overshadowed by sheer panic as we crawled and struggled over each other, desperately escaping the trailer. Grabbing my keys, we ran to the truck, only to find it unresponsive, as if the battery had died. Terrified, we heard the haunting sound of breaking trees once again. In a moment of desperation, prayer became our refuge. After what felt like an eternity, I turned the key once more, and miraculously, the truck roared to life. Fleeing to my parents' home, we sought solace and prayed through the night, repeating the ritual for the next 3 nights until I secured a condo in town. Our return to the trailer, accompanied by 2 trucks and 2 trailers, was a swift retrieval mission. We gathered our belongings and never looked back. This harrowing experience ignited a fervor within me to delve into the mysteries of the paranormal. Over the past 30 years, I've dedicated myself to helping others haunted by the unknown. Despite my encounters with war and a tumultuous life, this remains the most terrifying event etched into my memory. Even as I conduct paranormal investigations, I steadfastly refuse to return to that accursed property.